Hello, everyone. I'm Diletta, and I'm the StartSpace Program Coordinator, dialing here today from the Future Founders Festival, which is going to be 2 days of inspiring and empowering fun, which I'm sure is exactly what we all need right now. I was an international student a few years ago, and I can imagine my old self just loving all of this. I would like to begin by acknowledging all Aboriginal clans of Victoria and pay my respect to their elders, past and present. We also acknowledge and pay respect to Indigenous peoples all around the world. We have a very high power session ahead of us. 5 minutes, 5 founders, lightning talks, and AMA, Ask Me Anything, presented as part of the festival in partnership with Study Melbourne, StartSpace, and State Library of Victoria. I'm going to kick off with a bit of housekeeping before I throw over to our speakers. For questions today, there is a Slido widget to the top right-hand side corner of your screen. Drop your questions in there, and a reminder to please name the panelists that you are asking your question to so we know who to address your question to. There is a chat box below the Slido widget as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts throughout the session, and live reaction emojis below the screen that you can click on throughout the session so we know how you're feeling. If you're posting on socials, please use our hashtag FutureFounders, the Future Founders hashtag, which is hashtag FFP21. We'd love to see what it looks like in your scene on your end of enjoying the festival today. But yeah, that's all from me housekeeping wise. I'm going to throw it over to Emma Forster, Senior Program Coordinator at the City of Melbourne, who'll be moderating the session today, and she'll tell you a little bit more about it. Over to you, Em.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diletta. Hi, everyone who's out there hanging on to this virtual world that we're in. It's really great to be here. Great to be part of this discussion today. As Diletta said, it's going to be high energy. It's high impact. We're going to get it done. We're going to have a great time. My name's Emma, as Diletta said, and I'm the Senior Program Coordinator at the City of Melbourne. My focus areas at the city have been really around encouraging entrepreneurs and startups to start, grow and go global from Melbourne, one of the greatest cities we do have in the world. So it's great to have 5 founders here who are going to talk a little bit about their journey. Well, we're going to find out shortly anyway. I'm going to keep this pretty brief from my end, but we're going to go into each of the speakers. They're going to do 5 minutes. Some of them might have slides, some of them might not. We're going to have some questions come in, so please get thinking. We're going to have we'll have the questions at the end once the 5 founders have spoken. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first speaker for today, Daizy Maan. Take it away.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I did this last year and I was thrilled about it because I love being able to inspire students, especially international students as well. So today I wanted to give you guys a sort of 7-step process in how to kind of become a founder, especially when you're young and you're clever, you might be a little bit naive, and society, and this is like based on a blog post I wrote, and society wants to give you a job as like a waitress or an outbound call center because you have no experience. And that's what I went through. I worked in countless waitressing jobs as well as in call centers doing outbound calls. So I think I knew I had some skills, although I didn't have everything. I didn't know everything. I knew I could contribute in more meaningful ways. So this is what I did back when I was 19 years old. So step 1. I think you need to stand for something and be passionate about it. So you need to believe in your ability to make a difference. It could be anything. You could be passionate about the environment. You could be passionate about, for me, it was about social enterprise, using the tools of business to make a difference. It could be about gender equality. It could be, you know, anything that it is that lights you up and gets you excited. So have a passion. And that way, when you're also going to industry networking events, you're not just going to whatever your degree is about, but you're going to networking events based on your passion. 2, start your own organization or startup or university society. I started off with starting my own university society. So I started a society back in the day called Deacon Seco, which was all about social entrepreneurship. Step 3, call yourself the president and find other values aligned people to join your vision. I think being 19 and calling myself the president, I had these adorable little business cards I had made that I've still got all of them because I never use them. It made me feel that, oh, what I'm doing actually matters. It's important. And if I'm not going to get a business card at my job, I'll just make my own one up. You don't really need business cards in the long run, but do whatever it takes to help you feel like, you know, you're important, because you are. Step 4, do something meaningful that makes a difference. So for me, this was creating really meaningful events and inviting people who inspired me locally in Melbourne to come to these events and speak. And I called these events conferences. And I think we charged about $25 a ticket to make it somewhat sustainable. Step 5, work really, really, really hard to promote and market the said event or experience or product or whatever it is that you come up with to tackle the problem that you want to tackle, and make sure it's like a full house. The speakers, often for me, the speakers had done me a favor by coming all the way out to Burwood campus and sharing their wisdom. The least I could do was to really market the event to make sure there was a full house there of engaged people, because often that's all what people are looking for. Step 6, learn everything you can about marketing. I think as people start wanting to be entrepreneurs and starting something, you can't outsource the marketing. As much as you think you can, it's really hard unless you have huge budgets, which we often don't when we're starting out. You need to be resourceful. So during this time, I learned about Facebook ads through the Facebook Blueprint course. Meanwhile, a lot of students were sticking up posters behind toilet doors to promote their events. I was savvy and I was doing Facebook ads by learning through that course that was free online. I didn't know how to design, so I did Canva's free design school, which took about 3 hours. And to this day, I've used some of those simple, basic design principles in my job, which I think is really useful. So I designed all the business cards and the logo myself. I learned the basics of WordPress. Again, it only took me a few days, and I asked a couple of friends who were really good at this. And then, although we had a tech director to build our website, they bailed. And you'll find people bail on you all the time when you're starting things. Your co-founders will bail, your collaborators will bail. It's okay. Then you can learn how to do it until you recruit more people to take it on. So I learned WordPress and built our website by myself with a friend's help who talked me through how to do it. And I learned how to hook up domains with name.com. And then I learned how to send email campaigns through MailChimp. Again, another free course. Now, these are all tools that you can use to help you get started. You'd be amazed at the number of students that come to me in my job. About 1,000 plus have come to me asking, is this a good idea? Where do I find funding to get started? Often you don't need funding to get started. So I think I'm almost out of time, but these are my main tips. And the last thing I would just share with you is to repeat. Persistence shows people that you're in it for the long haul. I did this for 2 years, 4 conferences, 500 people engaged. And it was after this, I actually got approached and offered a job leading Deakin University's entrepreneurial programs, which is what I do today, as well as running my own company, Australian Digital Job Accelerator. So be passionate, stick to it, be persistent, and it'll really get you places, even though you don't know where it's taking you while you're doing it. That's all from me. I'm going to hand over to Joel.
Excellent. Hello, my name is Joel Buncle. Welcome to my lightning talk entitled Building a Successful Social Enterprise Business for a Better World, the top 5 tips that every entrepreneur should follow. Look, it's not a very productive name for a lightning talk, but we're just going to go with it. Tip number 1, a piece of advice that is a business staple. You hear it everywhere. Start a business with someone you know well. Preferably, you've known them for a few years. You understand how they work and whether you can even stand each other for a long period of time. Naturally, this is not what I did. I started One Love Australia when I met my business partner, Jamal, after probably about a month of knowing him. I just had a bit of a good gut feeling about it. And to me, that's the real trick here. It's trust your gut. Your intuition may not always be right, but over time, it's something that will continue to improve. And it's something that all entrepreneurs hold dear. They hold absolute dear, their intuition. Tip number 2, choose a simple problem to solve. Businesses are essentially about solving problems, after all. Every business does something to help their customers. And when you're starting out a social enterprise, the advice that usually comes your way is start small, keep it simple, scale it up over time. with that in mind, and there might be a bit of a running theme here, Jamal and I decided to tackle systemic racism. It's a pretty light topic that everyone enjoys talking about, not remotely political in nature at all. And, for me, I had absolutely no experience of racism on my life on the receiving end of that. But it is something that had followed Jamal for his whole life. And there was something in that, two opposing worlds colliding to solve a problem. So the real tip here is to know your secret sauce. Know what makes you different from everyone else, how you approach a problem differently to anyone else out there who's trying to solve the same problem as you. Tip number 3, when you finally get to the point of testing your idea in the world, you want to start with something that's low risk. You want to get out there. People say this all the time. You don't want to try and spend too much money. You want to be pretty reasonable. So following this advice, Jamal and I decided to do a benefit concert for 400 people in New Zealand. Neither of us had done a concert before. In fact, I don't think either of us had even been to Christchurch before. No, we hadn't. Did it work? Kind of. Did we raise a lot of money for the cause? Not really, but we covered our costs. But was it a once-in-a-lifetime experience that was really the foundation for everything that came next? Of course it was. The real lesson here is you need to have fun in business. Amongst all the hard work, amongst all the hustle, amongst everything that's glorified about having a startup and running a business, sometimes you just need to be able to sit back and enjoy it. Tip number 4. So you've developed your ideas, you've got a bit of a business offering together, and now you've got to think about taking it to market. You're going to need to think about who your target market is, the people who are going to buy what you're selling. And a lot of the advice that will come through to you as a budding entrepreneur is pick the lowest hanging fruit. Choose the people or the industries that are easy to access, those ones that want to change and will agree with you. So naturally, Jamal and I chose sport, where the very nature of the industry is competition. And they're not always the biggest risk takers. However, what we found in our exploration of sport is we found 2 people, Adam and Josh, in the industry who shared our vision of what we wanted to do and what we wanted to change. And we built something together, and then we took it to the industry as a collective, and it worked. We have 8 national sporting organizations on board with our Reflect Forward campaign. So the real tip here for you is to embrace your first followers as leaders, and then you'll see what really can be achieved together. It doesn't always have to be just you. Tip number 5, the final one, expect everyone to agree with you. You're doing a great thing. You're running a social enterprise. Naturally, everyone is going to agree with the way that you're doing it. Well, maybe not all the time, probably not all the time at all, actually. But that's okay, because, it is impossible to please everyone. The real takeaway here is that if the haters emerge, and they could be people you work with, they could be people who are just watching and not getting the whole picture, the doubters will be there. It only means that you're doing something right, because they've got enough in them to stand up and say something and criticize, but it means that you're doing something right. So learn to turn these negatives into positives, because it's with that mindset that you not only continue to grow as an entrepreneur, but grow as a person. So look, that's it. Those are my 5 tips. Really, there's no right or wrong ways to go about anything. I appreciate you listening. I'm going to hand it over now to Layana. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joel. Great advice. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Layana, the founder of Swap a Porter. And as an international student myself, I am thrilled to be here speaking to other international students. I know the challenges we face every day. For example, I am not sure if I'll survive this week. Besides uni, assessments, and work, I am moving houses, and then I also have a startup. I know it seems I didn't think through the idea of having a business, and maybe that's why I have it. What about you? Have you ever thought about what are the crucial resources that you need to start your business? Money, connections, experience. What if I tell you I didn't need any of those things to start my business? The only thing I needed was a problem. I fell in love with a problem, and the pursuit of the solution for this problem became my purpose in life. And this obsession eventually turned into my first venture called Swap Porter. Swap Porter is a digital platform made for fashion lovers exchanging fashion items. But why swap, Layana? Because swap has helped many people like me to refresh style while saving money and the environment. I discovered clothing swap parties here in Melbourne 4 years ago. In these events, people get together to exchange the clothes they no longer wear. And getting into secondhand fashion made me realize how rapidly people are disposing of clothes. I started asking myself why people get rid of clothes in perfect conditions, some with tags on still. Let me share a staggering figure on this problem with you guys. Every 10 minutes, 6 tons of clothes go to landfill in Australia alone. Here, I hit the problem of fashion overconsumption for the first time. Back then, I was doing a diploma in business, and in one of the school assessments, I had to study a problem I care about and come up with solutions to solve it. Guess which problem I picked? Fashion overconsumption, of course. The project went beyond the school assessment. It took me over a year to figure out a unique solution and develop a business model out of it. This includes my participation in 2 accelerator programs where I started building up my skills, network, and refining the business concept. I identified an opportunity to improve and scale up the swap parties concept if we make it digital. The idea was to develop an app where people could swap clothes locally, anywhere, anytime. However, I neither had the money nor the IT skills to make it happen. That didn't stop me though. During the first lockdown in 2020, I lost my waitress job. And taking advantage of that time off, I planned and launched the Swap Porter minimum viable product on Instagram. Where in only 6 months, we reached 1,000 followers organically, run 4 virtual swap events. One of them was a premium event that brought in $99 in ticket sales. In total, we swapped 91 items out of 283 items we received. Translating this into positive environmental impact, we saved the equivalent of water that one person uses to shower in 6 years, as well as the carbon emissions associated with 3 return flights from Melbourne to Sydney for one person. I literally felt like a Wonder Woman after reaching those results. Even though swapping on Instagram is a small-scale experiment, it was enough to show some traction, which brought on board my co-founder and tech lead, Paul, who is in charge of developing our app. Swap Porter is an early-stage startup, and we are far away from becoming a successful business. There's no money coming in. It requires a lot of discipline and sacrifice to juggle the startup with everything else in my life. And I have to be honest here, it's very challenging to keep going. The only thing that keeps me hanging there is my purpose, my will to solve that problem. So for me, the crucial element a founder needs to start a business and to succeed is a purpose. A purpose brought me here and it keeps me here. And to finish off, I want to share a quote from The Alchemist, a book that I love. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Thank you for listening. And in case you are looking for ways to refresh style in a sustainable and affordable way, you are invited to follow Swap Porter on Instagram and check out our website to know more about us. Now, I'm handing off to Tracey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Tracey. I'm one of the co-founders of Enso, and Enso is a social enterprise. We believe in an Australia where every refugee or migrant who wants work can secure a job. And so to do this, we work in co-design with migrant and refugee communities, organisations and businesses to develop employment opportunities. Enso as a business is not even a year old, but the roots of the idea go back much further. Jackie, my co-founder, migrated to Australia 6 years ago, and I experienced a childhood surrounded by parents and family members who fled as refugees from the war in Eastern Europe. Through this experience, we've both experienced what it's like to start in a new country, knowing no one, struggling to communicate, being bullied at school or work for eating different foods or not celebrating Christmas. And since launching Enso, we've had some little and some big wins. We received seed funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. We've worked with dozens of individuals supporting them to find work in a global pandemic, built incredible partnerships and pioneered a new approach to employment program design, and hired our first staff member. So when I was thinking about what to say today and how to distill the journey into a neat 5-minute package, I wondered what to leave out and what to keep in. It's easy, so easy to make the picture look glossy from the outside, and we often forget the harder moments. So I wanted to take a sec to share the top 5 learnings that I've discovered along the way, in the hope that whatever stage that you're at, whether you've started a business, you're thinking about starting, or it's just this little idea in the back of your mind that you don't return to often, they might be useful for you. So number 1, perfection is the enemy of done. My co-founder and I learned this early on through the Global Rockefeller Accelerator, and I don't think we'd be where we were today without it. We took an imperfect idea into the world to test it with real people, and we learned that if in doubt, trial it, pilot it. A perfect idea that's untested will remain just an idea. Learning the importance of testing and letting go of that perfect vision was pivotal. Testing for us meant reaching out and having conversations with people in the employment sector about what we wanted to do, what problem we were solving. But it was also about listening. It was about listening and being okay with not getting it right the first time. Testing that first idea with that first person was terrifying. But it was slightly easier with the next person and the next. And it was through this process that we found our first customer and our second and our third. Number 2, the value of a co-founder or a team. So having someone just as committed to talk ideas and plan through, like to film videos, to TikTok, to pick you up when you're down, when you've lost all confidence. It's been critical to our success. We've often said that there's no way either of us could have continued Enso on our own. Additionally, building a network of mentors and champions around us has been absolutely vital. When we were starting out, fixing, designing, we didn't have all the answers and we didn't need to know all the answers. We just needed to know who to call to help us figure it out. Number 3, invest in branding early. Much earlier than you think you need to. This could be as simple as building yourself a logo on Canva, deciding what font you want to use and sticking to it, getting onto StartSpace to create a landing page. About 70% of the people we meet with, either to start a partnership or as our customers, tell us they've looked at our website before the meeting. The brand is the story that we're telling the world, and even not telling a story is still a story that we're telling the world. Number 4, no matter where you are in your journey, some days you'll feel like as an imposter. As a young woman, I've been raised against a societal backdrop that tells me it's not okay to be proud. It's not okay to be bold. It's not okay to own what you've achieved. It's not okay to use I instead of we. Many young women we work with feel the same. At Enso, we combat this by reflecting every 6 months on what we've achieved, what the impact is, what we've learned, and what we failed. We reorient ourselves on the future by looking at the past. We focus on what's strategic and what we're excited by and cut the projects that take away from that focus. So on those days where I feel like an imposter, I'll look at that list of everything we've done and everything we want to do. And I'll choose the most exciting thing on that list and start that. Sometimes I just need to get out of my own head and into the work in front of me. Number 5, dealing with lack of motivation. A new venture is work, and you've heard that from everyone here today, probably more loudly than anything else. It's more than inherent skill or any talent that you might have been born with, it's work. And it's not going to be fun or shiny 100% of the time. Knowing when you need to take a break for your mental health and when you need to push through due to a general lack of motivation becomes key in knowing, just becomes key. And everyone has their own method for determining this. I use one that I got from an Olympic swimmer, which is that if I don't feel like doing whatever it is that I'm doing, I'll make a deal with myself. I'll say, I'm going to sit down for 10 minutes and I set a timer. And if after 10 minutes I still don't want to do it, or I feel tired, or I'm just not in the mood, then I'll stop. But if I feel in the flow, energized and ready to keep going, I'll continue. And 9 times out of 10, I end up continuing. So I feel super privileged to have had the opportunity to speak alongside everyone else here today. If you are keen to get involved at Enso, contact me after the session. We do regular call outs for interns and mentors and are always looking to collaborate with startups on new and exciting ideas. I'll pass now to Arthur to take us home. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracey. Hi, everyone. Great to be here today. Great to hear all the stories from such amazing founders. And I'm really excited to share a little bit of what I've learned along my journey as well. I'm Arthur. I'm currently studying a law and finance degree in my 3rd out of 5th year at Monash University. I founded Brioched, which is a platform where I wrote on consumer fintech and created infographics that were informative and concise on all sorts of topics, which eventually started out as finance and then pivoted into infographics that build mental capital. A year after, less than a year actually, and along the way, meeting cool people, hearing great stories, and talking to amazing founders and people in the startup ecosystem, I met people at Pitch Black and we had a chat, we hit it off. And funnily enough, my project, my media startup got acquired. And I started working at Pitch Black as the head of startup strategy, where we help really early stage startups get investment and build their business. If you'd like to hear the full story, I can't go into detail right now because we only have 5 minutes, but please feel free to reach out to me. And I think the first thing that I want to talk about today is action, right? I think, especially as students, we need to understand that we need to take action. And I want to introduce this phrase to you called bias for action. We need to have a bias for action because as students, you can't expect opportunities to arrive at your door. Sure, there's going to be, a small number of students who have opportunities knock at their door, but they're at the top, right? And when you're waiting for opportunities to come to you, usually you don't get them. You need to go out there and look for them. You need to have a bias for action. You need to do things. So for example, one thing that I'm a real believer of are cold messages. Now, I have met so many cool people and have leveraged so many opportunities because of a cold message. Now, a lot of people shy away from cold messages because they're afraid of being ignored. They're afraid of being rejected. Don't be afraid, because when we're talking about leverage, what comes out of a cold message? Okay, the worst that can happen is you get rejected. Okay, so what? I mean, you feel down for like 5 seconds and then you forget about it like the next time you have a coffee, right? You need to understand that there is unlimited upside to every cold message and almost zero downside. So you gotta, if you're interested in, let's say, social enterprises, reach out to people who are actively working in social enterprises, tell them why you're interested, explain your passion, get them for a coffee, and then see where it goes from there. Maybe you can ask for an internship, right? So it's all about being proactive and having a bias for action. Don't think, how can I create something that's perfect? Perfect is for people who never get things done, right? Perfect is for way into the future. You need to start something now and improve on it. That's why when we talk about startups, when we talk about raising capital, you raise capital with something called an MVP, a minimum viable product. A minimum viable product is a prototype that has all the core features that you need to go out and get investment. You don't create the perfect version of a product and then try to, because that will take forever. You're never going to get out there. Apple's first iPhone didn't even have the App Store. Think about that, right? Apps are just central to the iPhone now. And when Apple first launched the original iPhone, there was no App Store. There were no third-party apps. It was just Apple, their own apps, and that's it, right? That's pretty shit. But now, like, all you use on your phone are apps from the App Store. So you need to start anything first, and then improve on it along the way. Don't strive for perfection, strive to do things. And with this, I also want to talk about focus, right? Focus on one thing at a time, right? When you're talking about doing something, you need to focus on one thing at a time. You can't be great at 10 things, right? No one wants the second best person in 10 things, right? If someone can afford it, they want the best in class for that particular thing. So we're talking about Pareto principle and optimizing your energy, the 80-20 principle, right? Only 20% of your energy, 20% of people out there are in the top. The other 80%, could be good at it, could be great at it, but they're not the best, right? You need to focus on finding your 20%. You need to focus on finding what drives you, what you're passionate about, but also make sure that it's viable to do as, for example, a living, right? So you need to find your 20%, optimize your energy for it, optimize your time for it, and make sure that when you have your bias for action, when you act on something, you're acting on what you're best at, not what you're good at, not what you can do, but what you're actually best at and what drives you and what you're passionate about. And I just want to leave you with, you know, one word, advice, right? At the end of the day, you know, when I give advice, when the people at this festival give advice, we're coming from a perspective of personal experiences. And at the end of the day, you know, you are living your own life, right? So you can't take advice to heart. You need to take advice with a grain of salt, and then you need to improvise and adapt as you go, because advice is subjective. And so if I were to leave one thing with you, it's to act. Don't think about it too much. You can think about it later on, right? Just act, get things done, and all the best. Thank you.
So good. I'm giving you a round of applause. I'm getting the feeling there's a virtual round of applause happening out there, because I'm pumped after that. 5 amazing founders. Thank you all so much. Yeah, the energy. I mean, it almost made me want to quit my day job, to be honest, and get cracking into my own thing. But I wrote some notes. There were some really hot tips there. Love that bias for action piece, Arthur. That was really cool. The whole notion of done, not perfect. You know, it was real honesty from you all today. I really want to, you know, say thank you on behalf of everyone watching. And I also sort of wish there was something like this around when I was a student. You know, like I feel like I almost have missed the boat, but it's so awesome that, you know, the State Library, Study Melbourne and other entities are out there really identifying that students have the potential, young people have the potential and the drive and the energy to come up with some amazing ideas to solve some of our biggest challenges. So awesome. We have some questions rolling in. So of course, if you haven't already, pop some questions in the Slido. You should have it in front of you there if you're watching from the platform. Feel free. We've got about 20 to 25 minutes. So we're gonna crack into it. We've got our first question, which is actually for the whole panel. So I'll let whoever wants to jump in first and be brave by all means. But the question we've got here is, what's the most important risk that you took and why? Do we have a taker?
I can answer that.
Thank you, Arthur.
So in building Brioched, you know, as a student, as a full-time student, I think the biggest risk for me was obviously the time spent writing, branding, getting my content out there, meeting people. So that's a lot of time spent. And, you know, when you're studying, that especially during the assignment periods, there's a lot of time pressure and there's a lot of pressure to get things done, right? And so when you're trying to build your own thing, sometimes you feel you're not getting any traction, nothing's happening, but you're constantly, you know, working at something and you just feel like there's nothing coming out of it. And then you've got all this extra, you know, uni stuff, work stuff, and you're just feeling overwhelmed. So I think the biggest risk for me was just not knowing where this was going to go, the uncertainty. But, you know, if you're really passionate about something and you understand that your passion is, you know, will lead you to something that's viable as a job or will help you in, you know, a future career or your future business, then pursue that passion, right? Obviously, you've got to be realistic with your passions, but you need something that drives you from within, because if you're doing something just for the sake of, because your friends are doing it, because your degree demands that you do it, you're eventually going to crumble under the pressure because you've got nothing inside driving you.
Love that. That's awesome, Arthur. Who wants to chime in as well from their own experience?
I would say that my answer would be like Arthur answers, because we both are studying at the moment. And as I said in my presentation, that's what I'm struggling at the moment, finding time and juggle everything. And I had to decrease my hours at work, which impacts my finances. And we are in a pandemic, maybe we're gonna go lockdown and maybe I'll lose my shifts. And like, it's a big risk, but it's something that I took and I want to see it through. So I won't give up. Even though I lack of time, I want to go ahead and see where it's gonna take me.
Love that. So good. Tracey, you wanted to chime in as well.
Yeah, definitely echo Layana and Arthur. But one of the other biggest risks for us was talking to our customers about a problem that they were inherently a part of. And so, you know, we work with, you know, we work on racism, we work on a lot of cultural and political issues as well. And yeah, and really like being brave enough to talk about that, and not shy away from those hard conversations, but position customers in a way where they could become the hero of that story as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Daizy, did you have something to add there as well?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Layana says. I think one of the biggest risks when I first started was like time. I was spending like 30 hours a week volunteering on my side hustle, meanwhile studying full time, meanwhile working as a waitress, and also working at 2 waitressing jobs and an external volunteer gig. So I don't think it's easy. And I lived out of home, so I was financially independent as well. So although I haven't been an international student, I have had that financial pressure of having to pay everything myself and then having to earn to work out my own cost of living. So I don't underestimate that it is difficult. It's not easy. I forfeited a lot of social things. I was the nerdy person who spent most weeknights going to like these interesting social entrepreneurship talks to get inspired while my friends were, you know, having a drink at a bar. So you do have to make some sacrifices, and I don't want to make it sound all rosy. So I just want to add that you make those sacrifices because you care deeply about what you do.
Yeah, and it's all about finding the people around you that are there to support you and encourage you to do that as well, you know, so you don't feel alone. Totally. It's really about, yeah, creating the right environment for you. Joel, I will throw to you to wrap up this question if you wanted anything to add around the risks you've taken. And
yeah, sure.
thoughts.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it's a different kind of risk, but when I first started the business with Jamal, I didn't feel completely like comfortable with the subject matter because I didn't really know racism. It wasn't something I'd experienced, and I was worried that how people would view that and whether that be a negative and people would criticize just because of that, like not having the lived experience part of it. But that kind of opened up new perspectives for us to consider problems that we would go and solve together. And I think for every risk there's a reward if you persevere through it. And you know, in my case, it was just a matter of listening more and understanding more and being able to create more empathy, even though I couldn't, you know, live experience point of view.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's great. We've got heaps of questions piling in. So there's one specific here for Tracey. So Tracey, as a social entrepreneur, what is more important to you or not compared to traditional entrepreneurs, do you think?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think our entire model is built around the social impact that we can have. And I think, you know, there's kind of like 2 priorities, and one is to be a sustainable and resilient business that can stand on its own 2 feet. And the other is the social impact that we have. And I'm sure there's lots of entrepreneurs that do that out there, but like having that as a specific focus, like writing that into our constitution and going out to the entire world with that as the kind of like the core of what we hold on to, and, you know, a lens through which we make decisions would be one of the key differences.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's the rise of, you know, the B Corporation movement and other, you know, social impact, you know, enterprises that we see bubbling along here. It's really awesome. It really is an amazing sort of focus to have on that social element. So Daizy, this one's for you. What is the best piece of advice that has been given to you, whether it's personal or business?
I think one of the things I learned, I don't know who told me this or if I just worked it out somehow, is to follow good people. Is often we chase for work, we chase good brands. Like I want to work at this top tier brand or this top tier brand. And I found what's more important and what people overlook is to work for good people who look out for you. Are they mentoring you? Are they giving you a chance to grow? Are they giving you time in their calendar to help nurture your skills? Because you can have an internship or an experience at a top tier firm, and you can leave and you haven't had any like gain in social capital. I think that social capital in terms of networking and relationships is essential. So following good people has gotten me really far. Like I one time jumped on a plane to go to Africa, to Tanzania, because there was like a 22-year-old founder there I really admired. I admired what she'd created, and she was from the UK and she was Indian, and she'd been living there for like a decade, and she'd never gone to university, interestingly, but she'd built East Africa's largest social impact co-working space. So as soon as she said, you can come intern with me, I jumped on a plane and I was on my way. And she was great. I learned so much through her. So follow good people who inspire you, not necessarily organizations.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And I moved to Melbourne 10 years ago because of an internship opportunity similarly. And I knew the people that I was going to be working with. I knew that was going to be a great pathway for me. So yeah, I love that. This next one's for you, Joel. which thing do you wish you had done differently, if anything, on your journey?
I think like you can get caught in a bit of a trap looking back at how you would do things differently. I think you look at every project and you could change 10 things about, what you would do next time and whatnot. I definitely don't think there's any like regrets or parts that you just got to kind of keep moving. That's a bit of the entrepreneurial mindset, is like, you got to expect mistakes will happen. You got to expect that you will learn from them and do better next time. So I don't think I would change any part of the journey that I've been on and will continue to take.
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't be where you are now.
Right,
It's sort of like you don't want to dwell too much on what has been and gone, and it's always about looking forward. Yeah, that's awesome. Hi, Layana. What are some of the challenges or unexpected opportunities that you have encountered with starting your business? I mean, first of all, amazing that you sort of kicked this off, a year ago, or around COVID. So yeah, please tell us, anything unexpected that's happened over the journey.
Course, being invited to this panel, for example, and talking and meeting amazing people on the way, learning so much, and even getting a job. So when lockdown finished, I got into a network group that I met this girl through my Instagram page, and she was looking for someone to replace her at work. And I finally could move to a better job position that I was doing before. And all thanks to Swap a Porter. And I'm still, today, for example, I got an email on LinkedIn to apply for a position as a social media coordinator. And I was like, oh my God, and I have so many things to do, and there is something else coming up, but like so many opportunities popping up. So I really encourage you international students to step up, as Arthur said, action, do what you need to do and put yourself out there.
I love that. One, like, how's the power of Instagram? Like, for one, like, that's amazing. Like, the Swap a Porter profile has obviously like helped you gain momentum. But then what I think is really interesting to take out of that is, like, even if you start something, right, and it doesn't become your full-time every day, I'm the founder of this for the rest of my life, it can open up so many other opportunities for you. Like Daizy, earlier you were talking about the fact that, you didn't have any experience on your resume. Well, go out and create the experience. Like, go and start the business, because even that in itself, right, will actually, be impressive, and people will look at you and go, wow, they're a self-starter, right?
And you can start small. It doesn't have to be a fully fledged business. Start with a club or society, start with a local community group. You don't even have to register an organization. You just need to, have a bit of a vision and get some people together and set up an Instagram page. And if it grows, if you keep it up, then maybe it'll warrant setting up a company structure, but it doesn't always have to be that big. You just start small.
Yeah, love that. Love it. Arthur, this one's for you, and a comment too. So it's interesting that you're a student and an entrepreneur yourself. But what do you think about students dropping out of uni to focus on their startups?
Ooh, that's a spicy one. So, yeah, so I think personally, I just wouldn't drop out because I'm a chicken. But, nowadays, university degrees are so commoditized. Everyone has one, right? It's pretty much the minimum bar you need to apply for any job. And, if you think that you can take the failure, you can support yourself, you have the drive, you have the people supporting you, if you believe in yourself enough, and if you think that it's viable, definitely have a good think about it, because dropping out of uni is a pretty big decision. But man, lots of people have dropped out of uni and done pretty well. People have done shit at uni, done pretty well. People have done well at uni, done pretty well. Uni is not an indicator of success. It's just a very common path that people take nowadays, because, that's kind of the way that society has shaped us. And if you really want to start your own venture and you have the support and the ability to do so by dropping out of uni, go for it.
I'm going to answer the question as well, because I did drop out of uni. So, and it's just interesting because, I dropped out when I moved to Melbourne, and I attempted to go back online and continue my studies. And I'd actually half started a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and then I switched to an Bachelor of Arts degree. And so it's funny because, I kind of like, the notion was I ended up getting a job, and then I was like, I can always go back to uni. And I'm still now, I'm like, I could go back to uni if I wanted to. But I think, it's really interesting to hear that perspective, because I think if you really know what you want to do and what you want to be. I was a person who, and I'm sorry, it's not about me here today, but just for my own 2 cents. I mean, because, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and maybe I still don't really know where I'm going to be in 5 or 10 years time, but I'm really just enjoying being on the journey. So I think for some people, uni's great because it gets you down a path. You're learning, you've got the subject matter expertise. So yeah, I think it's sort of one of those ones where it depends who you are, depends what you're looking for. Daizy, did you have something to add to that as well?
Look, quickly, I work at a university. So there's a couple of things I want to chime in. I personally took 8 years to finish a 3-year degree. 8 years. I dropped out of 2 degrees. I moved to Africa, to Tanzania. I moved to Spain. I went back to India every year, more than my parents who migrated here. I go back. I lived in, Thailand as well. We're helping refugees and asylum seekers. So I did a lot of international experience. Most of it was not for credit. Most of it did not contribute to my degree on a technicality. Unfortunately, I wish it did. So I think university, in hindsight, as someone who went to uni, I think the best thing was it gave me an environment to do more. If you're going to go to uni and just get your degree, yeah, I agree with Arthur. Every Tom, Dick and Harry has a degree. So universities have amazing things like Spark Deacon, the program I manage here. Monash has Generator. RMIT has Activator. There are phenomenal other programs, and I'm surprised by the number of students who don't know about the additional programs, funding, support they can get at a university. So if you're at a uni, make the most of all of the services available to you, not just your degree. That's a bare minimum at a uni. So I just thought I'd share, it's okay to change degrees. It's often we are like, oh, we must finish, and we feel like a failure. I remember when I dropped out of law school, and I remember so many people said, oh, just finish it. It'll be good to say you're a lawyer. Oh my God, I don't want to be a lawyer. So why do I have to go on and finish it just to say I'm a lawyer? Like, I think my mum just liked the idea of, my doctor is a lawyer, and I'm like, but I'm not, I don't want to be one. So it's okay to drop out. It's okay to change degrees. You're paying a lot of money to study here. Make the most of it. You're often paying more than $100,000. You're paying 4 times more than domestic students. Get 4 times more value out of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's cool to be a founder. Like, you can make your own title. I'm a co-founder, director, executive. I'm the CEO of. That's a cool thing about starting your own business, right? You can make it up as you go along. We do have another question that's come through from the audience, and this is to everyone on the panel, sort of picking up what we were just talking about. So, some advice for our audience: if you don't have a certified qualification, like a degree or diploma, in a field that you are passionate about, but you're looking to pursue it in the startup space, what would be some advice that you would give around that?
Oh yeah, you go.
Tracey, you go.
No worries. I was going to say, I can kind of launch us off there. So I actually don't have a degree. So I study, my first degree I studied was engineering. And I got most of the way through that before moving to Melbourne, similar, I think, probably to you, Emma. And now I'm still studying as well, but I'm doing a complete 360. But the way that I got into what I was really passionate about, and this is a pretty privileged way to get in, I would actually just want to foreshadow, is just through volunteering and getting to know the community. And I can't stress the importance of getting to know the community of people, or the community based on the issue or the area that you really want to work in order to actually make your way into that space. And there's absolutely no way I would have been able to work with migrants and refugees, or work on climate, or work in any of the areas that I've worked in without kind of starting at that level from the ground up. So yeah, I think absolutely, if you don't know the issues that people are dealing with, if you don't know the industry that you're looking to get into, then it's likely the idea that you have has either already been had 10 times before, or that you're just a little bit off mark. So that would be my best piece of advice.
Yeah, I'd echo that sentiment. I don't think you necessarily need to get a qualification in everything that you choose to be involved in. I think qualifications can be helpful, but I think sometimes we use them as an excuse. Sometimes I'll do this when I'm qualified too. And it's well, there are things you need to be qualified for 100%. You want to be a doctor, you need a qualification. You want to be a nurse, you need a qualification, right? But there are many, many things you don't need to be qualified, and it's all about hands-on experience and that lived experience in doing that. Just this morning, I was actually speaking to former Senator Lisa Singh, and some of the advice she gave was that the most valuable thing in her career as a senator was her lived experience doing things, as opposed, because she had no idea about politics when she entered as well. So I think the more you can get experience and wisdom through that, the more valuable it becomes. And again, if you don't know how, go find someone on LinkedIn who's in that field and just go have a coffee with them and see where it goes. Go volunteer for their organization, spend a year there. So you learn from other people and you've got time to do that.
Yeah. Did anyone else on the panel have anything to add from their own lived experience?
Yes, I agree with both Tracey and Daizy. I believe learning by doing is key. It's even better than study. I tell that for personal experience. I always wanted to learn English. I studied English in my country. I studied grammar, but I had to come to Australia to actually learn English, because when I arrived here, I couldn't speak English at all. I just knew grammar. And that's my advice. Just do what you want to do.
So good. I love that. We've got a couple of questions that have come through furthermore. So Joel, this one's for you. How do you manage your emotions through the low phases of your professional life?
I think that's really just about having a good support network around you of people, right? You know, that's the great thing about having a co-founder, is like they're not really just your, you know, your business partner. They generally, you form a much stronger partnership or friendship with them over time. It's a great reason not to go it alone, because you get to work with someone on a daily basis. You get to read each other. I know that you know, Jamal and I kind of have, you know, developed sensors and little radars around, you know, how we're each feeling about certain things, and you know, you can often sense when something is like not sitting right or moving in that direction, kind of thing. So I think it's really just about having your support network and being vulnerable enough to share how you're feeling with people, so that they can actually, you know, reach out and provide you some support as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's really particularly hard, I think, in these times when we're all kind of confined a little bit more so to our screens, and we're working from home and we're not able to go out and meet each other in person. And I think Jamal's even located overseas, right? Like it's sort of, there's a divide, there's a time difference too. So that it's really, it's really hard to convey through a screen, right? Like how we're all going. Yeah, Daizy, please add.
Yeah, Emma, you're probably aware of this, but I spent 3 months really utterly miserable this year, and I've come out of that. But in that time, most people say, how are you so happy all the time? How are you so motivated? If some of you follow me on Instagram, I'm always having a joke on there. I'm, you know, an aspiring stand-up comedian in my own little head. So I'm always having a joke. And then I think when I'm mellow or low, I disappear. I'm not on anything. I'm just gone. And I went through that again this year in a very intense way, like I hadn't for half a decade. Like I hadn't felt that way that bad in 5 years. And, you know, obviously there's the professional help that you need to get. I did see a psychologist. I saw a psychiatrist. I think that was really important. I think, again, having people that you have around you. During this time, I felt constant anxiety that I was letting everyone down, because I'd set out to do these amazing things and now I couldn't get out of bed. So just remember, even people out there, people often look at me and put me on a pedestal, and I have to I put myself back down. I'm like, no, I'm just like you. You know, I go through the year, I go through the motions, the highs, the lows, and slowly I'm trying to do this, but still it's like this. And, you know, we all feel it. So reach out, connect in, and be, when you're feeling bad, let people know and take a bit off your plate if you can. It's okay.
It's good advice. Yeah. Share the load, share the luggage and the baggage we have. Arthur, here's one for you. And what you've achieved is very inspiring. This has come through from the audience. And what is your plan now that your startup has been acquired? Are you going to start a new one, or what's next?
That's a question I don't know the answer to, because what's next is, I mean, if you asked me 2 years ago or just last year, what's next, I would not tell you that I'll be on this panel right now answering your questions, right? Because for me, I don't like to set goals too far into the future, because there's just too much uncertainty, right? I just like to live by my principles and see how things go, right? Setting goals in the short term is fine. In my personal opinion, you know, setting goals maybe 6 months ahead, but even 6 months ahead, like, you just don't know where life's going to take you, right? So for the next thing, you know, I'm really enjoying my work right now at Pitch Black, helping startups, creating awesome content. Follow Pitch Black. And, you know, we'll see where where life takes me, because I just don't know.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, we don't even know what's happening tonight. Well, we know there's a lockdown, but you know what I mean? Like everything's so up in the air at the moment. So that's great advice. I've got one last question for you. I've got less than 5 minutes. So if we can try and stick to less than a minute each on this one. So looking back, so each of you to reflect now, looking back, were there any mistakes that could be avoided and should have been avoided by learning from books or podcasts or advice from coaches that you could share to our audience today?
The first one that comes to mind is like back when I was like, I didn't have this job, I was quite young. I took part in like a startup-y program at Melbourne Uni, and it was open to everyone. I was at Deakin. And I remember being very like in it to win it. I remember like I had a startup, it was my baby. Don't you dare call my baby ugly, it's my thing. And like I didn't end up pursuing that. But I just remember being in that experience. I was surrounded by 40 brilliant other students who had been picked out of a pool of 300, right? And I was there and I was lucky to be there. And all I remember is like focusing on my startup. I got to do a good pitch. I got to do this. I think I annoyed a lot of people. And look, in hindsight, I look back, I'm like, oh, you little dictator, Daizy, that was not good. But now, like, I look back and I'm like, sometimes I see this a lot in students now, and having seen thousands of students getting obsessed with their idea. And just to remember, enjoy the journey. Like, you're building something. Yes, it's hard to detach from it, but enjoy the journey. Don't get too attached to the solution, maybe the problem. But even then, going through these motions, ups and downs while you're building your entrepreneurial ventures, it's good to have this kind of detached objective lens as much as you can, and to put relationships at the top. And so I know you only said a minute, so I do want to give a quick shout out to someone who's listening and who's just added me on LinkedIn, Ashani Nigam, who runs My First Step Ever podcast from Uni Melbourne. I mean, proactive, good on you. You've gone on, you've added me straight away. You've sent a great message. So you go on places.
Nice one. Joel, Tracey, Arthur, Layana, anything you'd like to add?
I'd say not reaching out to enough people at the start, because like I said previously, just go out. Like, it really is that easy. People, like, especially if you're a student, right? And that's why I love being a student. People love helping students. Like, if you're a young working adult, like, your people wanting to help you goes from this to this, right? When you're a student, everyone thinks of you as like a sponge, with so much potential, and they're always willing to help out. So especially if you're a student, reach out to me, reach out to Joel, Tracey, Layana, Daizy, Diletta, and Emma. Like, just reach out. Like, that's all you need to do. Just reach out to people. They are more than willing to help. You have no idea where you can go when you reach out and create your own opportunities.
Love it.
Yeah, I think I'd add on to, like, I completely agree with what Arthur just said there. Like, I feel like maybe that's, if there was a mistake that I could have done earlier, was reaching out to people who were older than me, more experienced than me, to, get a bit of a, mentoring or advice that's like very, it's really like the who is like so much more important than the what you do in business, like who you're doing it with, who you're doing it for. All these things are just immensely more important than whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, I actually think that's mine as well. I think like, take the number of people that you think you should reach out to and like times it by 5. Like, I think when you're starting out, a lot of people, probably more than you expect, will come back to you and be really interested to have a chat or have a coffee. But it's not going to be 100%. So absolutely just reach out to at least 5 times as many people as you think you should.
Layana, did you want to say anything else?
I agree with everyone about contacting and reaching out to people, and also don't let people's assumptions and bias on your ideas affect what you do, because I did it in my business, and it took me a year to realize that maybe I should have done something differently, and I'm trying to do it again now, because I realized that my gut feelings were right about that thing in the past. So I regret missing all this time to do one thing that I wanted to do, but maybe it was meant to be. Maybe I had to learn something else on the way. So I'm just doing what I wanted before.
Amazing. Hey, we've just called it at time. I'm going to throw to you, Diletta, to wrap it up, but I just got to say one more time, thank you, all of you, for your inspiring wisdom, your words. We've got a little chat going here in the Zoom and everyone's loving it. Like some of us have met for the first time and no doubt we'll catch up again at some stage. But over to you, Diletta. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Emma. Solid moderation, and a humongous thanks again to Daizy, Layana, Tracey, Arthur, and Joel. I mean, there's a lot of good books and content out there, but really, to me, there's nothing that beats hearing the real experiences of people out in the field, founders doing their thing. So I'm so appreciative of all the topics that you guys covered today, from founder relationships, mental health, risks, different pathways, and it's going to look different for everyone. And I think that's the exciting thing about entrepreneurship. You have the tenacity to pick your own adventure and make the difference that you want in the world. So before we end the session, everyone just, a reminder that StartSpace is here for you all year round. And, if you're leaving the session and not sure where to start at StartSpace. And you can apply for a free membership, join our community, access the trainings, workshops, meet the other founders in our membership community, and use the co-working space at State Library once lockdown is over, I guess. But yeah, thanks again for joining us. We'll catch you at the other sessions later this afternoon. See you all.